Why are mobile games so lazy now? Back then, whenever I was like 8 years old, 9 years old, we had the most phenomenal, and I mean phenomenal games. We had Pixel Gun 3D, Geometry Dash, Minecraft Pocket Edition. There were so many phenomenal mobile games that are so iconic, and now in the new generation, I can't name a single one.
If you grew up playing mobile games, then you probably remember a time when there was a vast selection of games at your fingertips with unique concepts, art styles, and gimmicks that set them apart from most other games. Even games that were
Oh my lord, Temple Run and Subway Surfers. Whenever I was a kid, I would just enjoy this game 24/7. And now it's just used for slop content, but before, it was actually used for a good purpose. Because I'm 19 years old, right? Whenever I was like 8 or 9, my parents did not let me get an Xbox. And most of the times, most parents did not let their kid play Xbox at such a young age. Because it was like a different time, basically. Because now every single kid has an Xbox, every single kid has a PC, and it's great. But before, all you had was your mom's iPhone, and you had to go and download games for free, and these were the best options you had. And this would entertain me so much more for hours and hours and hours and hours than any other game today.
Conceptually similar still had very unique art styles and gameplay elements. But today, most games seem to be these mass-produced, unfinished projects.
Wait, these actually do exist? I see these ads all the time and they look fake. Wait, are these actually a real thing?
Whose whole point is to extract as much ad revenue from you as possible. And sometimes there's more ads than there is gameplay. So today, let's look at some examples of games with really creative concepts from back in the day and why we don't get as many of those today as we did back then. A like and sub would be truly appreciated.
But this is the thing, right? Most mobile games, whenever I was a kid, like 8 or 9, they were not good. They just were very fun. That's the thing. Like Angry Birds, let's say. Angry Birds is like the most basic concept of a game. You know, you just hold down a button and throw something at something. That's it. But it was so fun. But this just looks boring. It has no creativity. This just looks like slop to me. It looks like slop.
And let's get on to the video. Starting off, we have Cars Appmates. Cars Appmates was a Disney Pixar mobile game in which you used physical car toys placed on your iPad screen to play the game. The car you place on the screen appears in the game and interacts with its environment. When you hold the car with your 2 fingers, the car would begin to move forward, and when you let go, the car would come to a stop. You could participate in races, complete objectives and missions, play mini games, and just drive around Radiator Springs aimlessly. The map was pretty big and there was a lot of stuff to do, so as you drive around you can just come across different quests and missions. There was honestly a lot of content for the game, and the game just felt super immersive to play. It was really well made with great sound effects and graphics, at least for the time, and I really don't think this game gets talked about enough. Cars Appmates does something that I don't think many other mobile games do today, and that is give you a full experience. You would lay your iPad down, grab the figure, and enter Radiator Springs. A lot of mobile games today are played in between certain activities. Maybe you're at the doctor's office and you want to kill some time, or you're—
Yeah, that's a good point. Back then, I would actually be home playing Pixel Gun 3D. I would be home playing Geometry Dash. I'll be home playing all the OG mobile games, right? But now, I just think most mobile games are designed to be played when you're pooping or when you're somewhere and you're stuck and you have no internet and you can't scroll on TikTok for hours and hours and hours and hours. That's why I think is the new generation of mobile games. But it sucks because back then, there wasn't that much competition, I think, for mobile games, right? Because when you're a kid, you don't have an Xbox, you don't have a PS4, you don't have a PC, right? So you can't really play any video games, and all you have is your mobile phone from your mother. You know, that's why I think. But now you have so much competition, so what's the point of playing mobile games?
You're in the back of a car and there's still 30 minutes before you get home. So you decide to load up whatever random game you have in order to make the time pass quicker. But Cars Appmates was a fully fledged game. It used the fact that it was a mobile game to its advantage rather than compromising certain gameplay elements because it was mobile. The truth is, you could never have Cars Appmates work on any other type of device other than mobile because it needed that touch functionality to work. Without that, it would just be a normal driving game. And I think the way that the whole gimmick was applied was really unique and creative. So let me know if you played Cars Appmates. Next up, we have a game that was a very core memory for me. This is Black Box, and it is a puzzle game where you solve.
Why haven't I heard a single one of these games? I mean, I don't know any of these games. I just remembered Jetpack Joyride, Geometry Dash, Minecraft Pocket Edition, those type of games. I never seen these once in my life.
Solve the challenges by using your phone itself, not the screen. In fact, you barely even touch the screen in this game. Most of the puzzles in the game are solved in ways you would never expect. Some of the puzzles are solved by raising your volume or changing your brightness, maybe even turning on your flashlight, or maybe even plugging your...
There is no way this is an OG game. No way. Back then, whenever I was like 8, all you could do is just hold down a button and that's it. I mean, this looks very complicated.
Your phone into the charger. This game turns your entire phone into part of the puzzle, and it's honestly one of the coolest concepts I've ever come across. It really takes away your focus from the screen and makes you focus on the entire device instead, which really makes you put your thinking cap on. This game released back in 2016, but it seems to...
What? Really? This had to be a completely different game back then. This is genius. These are both awesome. Why did I never heard about these games back then? I don't know. Whenever I was 8, I was playing basically slop games back in my time.
Still be getting consistent updates, so if you're looking for a truly challenging puzzle game, then I would definitely recommend you check out Black Box. Next up, we have Pokemon Go.
There was never a mobile game that was more hyped than this. I never understood it. I remember there was the news talking about it, saying how people were getting hit by cars and stuff like that and falling off cliffs because they wanted to find their local Pikachu or the local Pokemon. It was the stupidest thing.
And I really don't think this game needs an introduction. You basically catch Pokemon in real life, and when this game was first announced, it practically changed the world. It was so popular, and I would bet it was the most globally influential mobile game in history.
Yeah, I don't understand why. I mean, it's a cool game, but the hype was way too crazy in my opinion. I'm sorry, I have to say it. Like, Pokemon's a great game, but Pokemon Go, what the hell it's called, the hype was way too overdramatic.
It was developed by Niantic in collaboration with the Pokemon Company back in 2016, and as of a few months ago, Niantic pretty much announced that the entire point of the game was to collect players' geographical data. But despite that, I really can't deny the influence that this game had. When the game first dropped, I personally didn't have cellular data, and so I didn't really end up experiencing the game to its fullest like everyone else. I pretty much either had to get a home.
Yeah, but what's good about this game is that you go outside. like it gives you a reason to go outside, and that's a positive because a lot of people don't go outside. Like, they just stay in the room all day. And this makes it so you go outside and you can meet other people. And I don't really know any other game that does that. What video game makes you go outside and try to find things? That's what's kind of mind-blowing to me about this.
Hotspot from someone or go to a place that had a Wi-Fi network. But when I did eventually get data, I enjoyed this game quite a bit, especially as a Pokemon fan. The way it incorporated your GPS location into the game was really unique and creative, and its creativity is the reason why it became the most downloaded Pokemon game ever with over 1 billion downloads.
Jeez Louise, dude. But I remember all the YouTubers making videos about this, and I never understood why it was so famous.
So let me know if you played Pokemon Go. Next up, we have Among Us. Now, you might be confused why this...
Okay, this was a mobile game. This game was peak pre-COVID. I remember right before COVID happened, this blew up. I think it was pre-COVID, right? Wasn't it? God, COVID was so long ago. I just remember being in middle school and people playing this all the freaking time. And one time in a this is such a bad story. Okay, one time I was in a classroom, right? And this was probably 7th to 6th grade, right? And there was this kid that I hated. I hated him. And he started a Among Us server, right? And only 10 people can join. And I wanted to join really badly, right? And he purposely made it so I couldn't join. So I went to the counselor and reported him for bullying me back in like 7th grade. And I made a whole lie. I remember I lied. I was just so mad that he just didn't want me to play. So I overdramatic the story so much. And he got like 2 days of detention, I remember. It was like some detention type of thing. And I feel so bad. But he just didn't like me, this guy. And it was so funny because I literally reported him to the counselor for not letting me play Among Us. But this game was so funny because I remember people swearing on like their mother or their like child, basically, that they are not the imposter and they were the imposter.
Game is on the list, and actually Among Us first began as a mobile only game and was that way for a while until it finally got a PC port, but it was originally destined to be a fully mobile only game. And even though Among Us was super popular for a while and then later fell off, you have to admit that the game itself was actually quite creative and
it was super creative. There was nothing like it. Like, it reminds me of a board game in the best way I can describe it.
Polished. The game's art style and characters was also really recognizable. Like, I don't think I could ever forget how an Among Us character looks. The game was fun and based on player interaction, and it was purely based on persuading others. This game was so popular that it kind of got overdone and became a little cringe, but you do have to give it its praise because it was a really influential game. And
it was glazed a little too hard in my opinion. I think this was a time where people were trying to find video games to play, so they got super hyped up for this.
its influence lives on with all of the friend slop games that are coming out today, and they're pretty much all inspired by the player interaction that Among Us had. Next up, we have iBeer, which was one of the earliest viral iPhone apps that basically turned your screen into a glass of beer, and as you tilted your phone, the beer would move and pour out of it as if it was a real glass. This came from a time when everyone was experimenting with the iPhone's features and using them in the weirdest way possible. In the modern day, this app might not seem super impressive, but it got over.
Yeah, but this is such a different time. This is when they had flip phones, you know? This is before my time. This was a long time ago, you know? This was mind-blowing to people at this time. And that is what makes it kind of sad, you know? Because if you show a kid today this app, they would be like, okay, boring. But this would entertain probably adults for hours and hours and hours.
90 million downloads at a price point of $2.99. Doing the math, this equals around $270 million of revenue for the app. If this app came out today, I don't think anybody would buy it. And it just goes to show that at the time when this app was released, it was a super unique and creative app, even though it might not be considered that way today. So let me know if you ever played iBeer. So all of these creative mobile games are cool and all, but why did mobile games end up losing their creativity?
Money. Money. Because at the time, people were not making mobile games for money. They were making it for enjoyment. But now, all these games are just slop. They're just slop trying to profit as much money off you.
Well, that's because everyone realized that the best way to make money on mobile games is to make the game free to play and fill it with ads or microtransactions, or both. Now, the thing is, free games have always existed, and even back then, the free games that did have ads were not overflowing with them.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? In my opinion, I think the best way to put ads into your game is that you get a reward. I hate mandatory ads. Like if you're playing a game and then you get kicked with like 2 30-second ads, like that's super annoying. But if you want like 5 gems or like a new skin, if you watch a 2-minute ad, that's fine because it's giving you a reward and it's giving the developer a reward. You know what I mean? Versus them just shoving it down your throat.
They were reasonably spaced out and didn't really disrupt the experience that much. But as time progressed, developers started learning how to maximize their revenue, and so they began designing their games to keep you hooked as long as possible, and to shove as many ads in your face as they possibly could. This means that the games didn't have to be creative, they just had to be engaging. They had to spike your dopamine up as much as possible and keep you coming back for more. As tech became better, studios had access to better tracking tools that could see how long you were playing the game for at a time, and at what points you were quitting the game or maybe even uninstalling it. And so they could optimize their games as much as possible to keep you hooked for as long as possible. Making a new creative idea was no longer the priority, it was an afterthought that they could make.
I mean, this is so obvious. And it goes back to before people actually meant well making video games and stuff like that. But today, most times, they just want money. And it sucks, you know? And same with YouTube. YouTube is a very big example. There are so many YouTubers that don't even like doing YouTube, but they just like the money. So they keep on doing it. And they try to maximize the most optimal, most best everything, right, to extract as much money as possible. And I hate that because the creativity is gone. You don't feel like it's enjoyable anymore. And it's just sad, you know? And like, you can obviously see whenever before they got like Mr. Beastified, you can say the word, but you can see before they actually cared about their videos. They actually had love, you know? But now it just feels like you have 40 employees. It just feels like a TV show. And that's the issue that I hate with the new YouTube, especially with shorts. Shorts are the worst. I hate shorts. But it's very sad because whenever I was 8 or 9, there was no YouTubers just trying to make money. It was all just people that just liked making content. But now it's all just like people knowing how much money they can make, how much fame they can get, and they just shove it down their throats. Like back whenever I was 8 or 9, being a YouTuber was corny. Being an influencer was corny and stupid. But now every single person in the world wants to become an influencer and wants to become a social media person. And it's sad because all they care about is money and fame and not actually creating good content.
Maybe fit in if the budget allowed. And you also have to consider the fact that a lot of games have a specific budget. And so most of the time, it's not really in the studio's interest to take a risk and make a new and unique idea. And instead, it would be much safer for them to hop on a trend and just run a bunch of ads to get people to come to their game. Like, I'm sure you guys have seen those top war ads that are nothing like the real game. And so when you do, it ends up boosting the game in the charts artificially, even though you didn't actually like the game. And so this exposes the game to millions of new people that could possibly enjoy playing the real game. And that is the real reason why mobile games lost their creativity. It's not that developers somehow forgot how to make unique and creative games. It's just that
I think this is 100% correct. It's not because they lost their mojo. It's because they're not awarded. It's like, why would I spend hours and hours and hours and hours making a great mobile game if Billy down the street can make a game in 2 minutes with AI and just put a trend on it and then just put a ton of ads in it and make more money than me? It's just sad, you know? And it goes back to, that's why I think creative people should be awarded, you know? Because if you're creative, it still works today. You know, look at Among Us, look at Fortnite, look at a lot of these games. They're creative, they're different, and they are awarded way more than these slop games, you know? So if you have a creative idea, do it. But in the short term, the slop games win, you know? Because if your game never pops off, then you're screwed.
The system no longer rewarded them for it. Back then, it was creativity that made a game successful, and nowadays, the most important thing is how long they can keep you hooked into a game and how many ads they can show you in the shortest amount of time. That's all for today's video. Let me know if you guys played any of the games mentioned. A like and sub would be truly appreciated, and comment down below what type of videos you'd like to see next. See ya!
It's just sad. It very is sad. I hope just in general, we get a shift, you know, from slop to actual good content.